The water-phobic galaxy, the conference chamber of Station Harmony, floated in the neutral zone between 12 star systems, a monument to galactic cooperation built from crystal and steel. Inside its vast circular hall, representatives from 47 different civilizations gathered around a holographic display that pulsed with soft blue light. The light reflected off scales, carapaces, energy fields, and synthetic bodies. Each delegate as different from the next, as planets scattered across the cosmos. Council leader Zephron stood at the chamber's center, his elongated form wrapped in the traditional robes of his people, the tall ones. His species had discovered faster-than-light travel 3,000 years ago and had spent the centuries since building bridges between worlds. Today, however, he carried news that made even his steady voice waver. "Honored delegates," Zephron began. His words translated instantly into 47 languages through neural implants and communication devices. "Our deep space survey teams have discovered a new world. We have designated it Nereus 7. The holographic display shifted, revealing a planet that appeared as a perfect sphere of blue and white. Gasps and startled sounds rippled through the chamber. Some delegates recoiled, others covered their sensory organs. Ambassador Chenwei of Earth sat quietly in the human delegation section, his weathered face betraying no emotion. Beside him, Dr. Arya Santos leaned forward, her dark eyes fixed on the beautiful blue world rotating before them. She had seen that color before, every day of her life. It was the color of home. "As you can see," Zephron continued, his discomfort obvious, "Nereus 7 is almost entirely covered in dihydrogen monoxide, water. Our preliminary scans indicate the liquid covers 92% of the planetary surface. There are small landmasses, but they are insignificant. The planet is effectively an ocean world." The chamber erupted in worried chatter. A delegate from the Voth Collective, whose crystalline bodies sparkled with inner light, rose from their seat. "This is a death world classification, surely. Water is corrosive to our molecular structure. Even atmospheric humidity can cause fracturing." "My people concur," added Ambassador Threk of the Korvax Confederacy. The methane breather's voice buzzed through his translation unit. "Water vapor interferes with our respiratory chemistry. Prolonged exposure causes cellular breakdown. We classify all high-water worlds as extreme hazard zones." One by one, species shared their fears. The silicon-based Terric explained how water dissolved their flesh like acid. The energy form Luxans described how moisture disrupted their cohesion, causing them to dissipate. The insectoid Chitara told ancient stories of ancestors who had ventured too close to their homeworld's small seas, never to return. For 6,000 years of recorded galactic history, every spacefaring civilization had learned the same lesson. Water meant death. Chenwei glanced at Dr. Santos. She gave him a slight nod. It was time. "Council Leader Zephron," Chen said, rising slowly, "if I may address the assembly." Zephron gestured permission, clearly curious what the humans would contribute. Earth had joined the Galactic Council only 8 months prior, the newest member of the ancient organization. Humanity was still learning the protocols, still understanding their place among species that had traveled the stars for millennia. "My colleague, Dr. Arya Santos, has prepared some information that may interest this council. She is Earth's leading expert in what we call oceanography, the study of large bodies of water." The chamber fell silent. Why would any species study something so dangerous? What possible purpose could that serve? "Doctor." Santos stood, activating her own display module. The hologram shifted, replacing Nereus 7 with images from Earth. The first showed an endless expanse of blue water stretching to the horizon, waves rolling beneath a yellow sun. Several delegates made sounds of distress. The Voth representative's crystalline structure actually dimmed, a sign of extreme anxiety among their kind. "This is the Pacific Ocean," Arya said calmly. "It is one of 5 major oceans on Earth. Our planet's surface is 71% water. We have lived with these oceans for our entire evolutionary history." "Impossible," breathed Threk. "How did your species survive? Where did you build your cities?" "We built them everywhere," Arya replied. "On coastlines, on islands, sometimes even on the water itself. But more importantly, we built them with water. Every human civilization in our history has depended on water for survival. She changed the image. Now it showed human children playing at a beach, running into waves that came up to their knees. They were laughing, splashing each other, showing no fear whatsoever. A Chitara delegate actually fainted, its insectoid body crumpling as its companions rushed to help. These are children, Arya continued. Human juveniles, learning to interact with water. This is considered recreation, a form of play and enjoyment. The next series of images showed humans swimming, diving, surfing. Each picture seemed more impossible than the last. Humans underwater with their eyes open, humans floating peacefully on their backs. Humans diving from great heights directly into the water below. "Your species enters water voluntarily?" asked Zephron, his voice barely above a whisper. "You submerge yourselves in the substance." "Not only that," Chen said, stepping forward. "Our bodies require it. Human biology is approximately 60% water. We must drink it regularly to survive. We use it to clean ourselves, to grow our food, to generate power for our cities. Water is not our enemy. It is the foundation of everything we are." To demonstrate, Chen reached into his delegation pack and withdrew a clear container filled with liquid. The delegates closest to him scrambled backward. Chen calmly raised the container to his lips and drank. The chamber descended into chaos. Delegates shouted in their languages, demanding explanations. Some accused the humans of using holographic tricks. Others suggested Earth must be a myth, that no species could survive such conditions. Zephron called for order, his voice amplified through the chamber's systems. It took several minutes for the assembly to calm. When they finally did, every eye, sensor, and detection organ focused on the human delegates with a mixture of fear and fascination. "Ambassador Chen," Zephron said carefully, "are you saying that Earth is similar to Nereus 7? That your species evolved on a water world?" "We are saying exactly that," Chen confirmed. "And we are saying that what you consider a death world, we consider home." Arya pulled up geological data, atmospheric readings, temperature ranges. Nereus 7 actually appears more hospitable than Earth in many ways. The water temperature averages 24 degrees Celsius in the equatorial zones. The salinity levels are lower than our oceans. The atmospheric composition would require no breathing assistance for humans. If anything, Nereus 7 might be paradise for my species. The implications settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. For 6,000 years, the Galactic Council had classified water worlds as uninhabitable, categorizing them alongside volcanic hellscapes and radiation-soaked wastelands. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of worlds had been dismissed without serious survey. And now these newcomers, these humans, claimed such worlds were not just survivable but desirable. "This changes nothing," declared Ambassador Soreth of the Terric Assembly, her rocky features set in stern lines. "One species' habitability does not negate danger. Water remains lethal to most galactic civilization. Nereus 7 should be classified as restricted, off-limits, except for the most necessary scientific observation from safe orbital distance." "I propose an alternative," Chen said. "Grant humanity permission to send an exploratory mission to Nereus 7. Let us survey the planet properly as only we can. If we find nothing of value, the world can remain classified as you suggest. But if we find resources, if we find life, if we find anything that could benefit the galactic community, surely that knowledge is worth the risk." "Risk to your species alone," Zephron pointed out. "No other delegation could join such a mission. You would be entirely isolated." "We understand," Arya said. "Humans have explored dangerous environments throughout our history. We have methods, equipment, and most importantly, biology suited for this task. We ask only for the opportunity to prove that water worlds deserve a second look." The debate raged for hours. Conservative delegates argued that encouraging water world exploration set dangerous precedent. Progressive voices suggested that humanity's unique capabilities could expand the galactic frontier in ways never before imagined. Some species feared the humans were too new, too untested. Others saw potential for unprecedented discovery. Finally, as Station Day turned to Station Night, Zephron called for a vote. The holographic displays at each delegation station glowed red or green. The tally appeared in the air. 24 in favor, 20 in opposition, 3 abstentions. By majority decision, Zephron announced, humanity is granted permission to explore Nereus 7. You will provide regular reports to this council. Should you encounter difficulties, rescue will be attempted, though I must note that no species present has the capability to provide meaningful assistance in a water environment. He paused, his alien features expressing something that might have been concern. Ambassador Chen, Dr. Santos, I hope you understand what you are undertaking. In all recorded history, no intelligent life has thrived in the environments you describe. Please proceed with caution. Chen bowed respectfully. We understand, Council Leader, and we thank the Assembly for this opportunity. Humanity will not waste it. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, many gave the human section a wide berth. They whispered in their languages, speculating about these strange newcomers who drank poison and called oceans home. Some thought the humans were brave. Others thought them insane. Most simply couldn't comprehend what they had witnessed. Dr. Santos gathered her equipment, her mind already racing ahead to mission planning. She thought about the blue world they had seen, the vast unexplored oceans that terrified every other species in the galaxy. To them, Nereus 7 represented death and danger. To her, it represented possibility. Do you think we'll find anything? She asked Chen quietly, as they walked toward the transport tubes. The ambassador smiled, the first genuine expression he'd allowed himself all day. Dr. Santos, I think we're about to discover that the galaxy is much larger than anyone realized. They've been looking up at the stars for thousands of years. Maybe it's time someone looked down into the depths. As Station Harmony completed its rotation, the holographic display in the empty chamber continued to show Nereus 7. That beautiful blue sphere turning slowly in the darkness. To 46 civilizations, it was a warning. To one, it was an invitation. Humanity was about to dive into the unknown, and the galaxy would never be the same. The dive that changed everything. The research vessel Triton's Call emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Nereus 7 system, its sleek hull designed for both space and water. On the bridge, Captain Yuki Tanaka watched the blue planet grow larger on the view screen, her experienced eyes taking in every detail. 20 years of naval service on Earth's oceans had prepared her for many things, but leading humanity's first expedition to an alien water world felt different. This wasn't just exploration. This was proof of concept for an entire civilization. Orbital approach is smooth, reported Marcus Johnson from the engineering station. The broad-shouldered man adjusted his controls with practiced ease. All water landing systems are green. Hull integrity at 100%. We could splash down in the next hour if you give the word, Captain. Let's take our time, Yuki replied. I want a full sensor sweep first. Dr. Osei, what are we seeing? Dr. Kwame Osei looked up from his biological analysis station, his dark eyes bright with excitement. The Ghanaian marine biologist had spent his entire career studying Earth's oceans, discovering species in places other scientists said life couldn't exist. Now he had an entire alien ocean to explore. Captain, these readings are extraordinary. I'm detecting massive biological activity throughout the water column. Complex organic signatures at every depth. The biodiversity might exceed Earth's richest ecosystems. He shook his head in wonder, and the aliens thought this was a dead world. As Triton's Call settled into high orbit, the alien observation fleet maintained position several thousand kilometers away. 5 vessels representing different council species watched through powerful sensors, expecting disaster. They had made bets among themselves about how long the humans would survive. The optimists gave them 3 days. The pessimists said 3 hours. Aboard the Voth observation ship Crystal Harmony, Ambassador Valen monitored the human vessel with increasing anxiety. Her crystalline structure refracted the bridge lights into rainbow patterns. They are actually proceeding, she said to her science officer. I thought surely they would reconsider once they saw the planet up close. Humans are either remarkably brave or remarkably foolish, the science officer replied. We will learn which shortly. Yuki reviewed the landing site one final time. They had chosen an equatorial region where sensor readings showed moderate depth, approximately 500 meters, with interesting geological formations on the ocean floor. The water temperature was perfect, the wave patterns manageable. For someone who had sailed Earth's Pacific through typhoons, These conditions looked like a calm day. "All hands prepare for water landing," Yuki announced through the ship's communication system. "I want everyone in hydration suits. We don't know what we'll find down there." The Triton's call descended through Nereus 7's atmosphere, a controlled fall that ended with a massive splash visible from orbit. The alien observers braced for catastrophe, flooding, rapid sinking, desperate distress calls. Instead, the human ship bobbed on the surface like a cork, perfectly stable. Its specially designed hull displaced water efficiently, keeping the vessel afloat while allowing it to dive when needed. "Surface landing successful," Marcus announced. "All systems nominal. Water's actually supporting us better than simulations predicted. Lower density than Earth's oceans, higher buoyancy." Yuki stood and stretched. "Then let's get wet. Dr. Osei, Marcus, you're with me for the first dive. Standard safety protocols, 30-minute maximum duration. We stay in visual contact at all times." They gathered at the ship's moon pool, an opening in the hull that allowed direct access to the water below. Yuki checked her equipment one last time. Fins for propulsion, mask for visibility, a small rebreather that would extend her dive time. The gear was minimal compared to what the aliens would need. Humans didn't require much to explore water. Evolution had already given them most of what they needed. "Ready?" she asked. Marcus gave a thumbs up. Kwame grinned like a child on Christmas morning. Yuki sat on the edge of the moon pool and slipped into the water. The sensation was instantly familiar, comforting. The water was warm, clear, supporting her weight. She ducked her head under the surface and opened her eyes. What she saw took her breath away. The ocean of Nereus 7 was crystal clear, visibility extending at least 50 meters in every direction. Sunlight penetrated deep, creating shafts of golden light that illuminated something impossible. Life. Schools of creatures that looked like fish, but weren't moved in coordinated patterns. Floating organisms drifted past, trailing bioluminescent tendrils. The ocean floor below was carpeted with what might have been coral, plants, or something entirely alien. Marcus and Kwame joined her, their faces showing the same awe behind their masks. Through hand signals, Yuki indicated they should dive deeper. All three took deep breaths and kicked downward. On the Crystal Harmony, alarms blared. "The humans have entered the water," the science officer shouted. "They are submerging." "Alert the council immediately," Valen ordered, her structure darkening with stress. "Document everything. They will want to know how the humans died." But the humans didn't die, they swam. Yuki led the way down, her powerful kicks propelling her through the alien water with practiced ease. Marcus stayed close, his engineering mind already cataloging everything he saw. Kwame couldn't stop himself from chasing after interesting specimens, his scientific curiosity overriding even basic caution. At 20 meters depth, they discovered the first major find, a formation of rocks that clearly weren't natural. The stones were arranged in geometric patterns, walls and arches that spoke of intelligent design. Kwame pulled out an underwater camera and began documenting everything. This wasn't just an ocean. This was an ocean with history. They continued deeper. 30 meters, 40, 50. The pressure that would kill most alien species was barely noticeable to the humans. Their bodies adapted, ears equalizing, lungs compressing slightly but functioning normally. This was what millions of years of evolution on a water world had created, a species that could venture into the depths that terrified everyone else. At 60 meters, Marcus spotted something glinting in the sediment. He dove down and carefully brushed away the sand, revealing a vein of crystalline material that ran through the bedrock. He broke off a small sample and ascended to show the others. Even without analysis, he knew what they'd found. Energy crystals, the same rare materials that powered most galactic technology. On Nereus 7, they were just lying there in the ocean floor, untouched and unexploited because no one had been able to reach them. Yuki checked her dive computer. 28 minutes. Time to surface. She signaled the others, and they began their slow ascent, following proper decompression protocols. They emerged beside the Triton's call to find the entire crew gathered at the moon pool, cheering and applauding. "Captain," said Communications Officer Park, "the alien observation fleet is requesting an immediate report. They seem very confused that we're still alive." Yuki pulled herself out of the water, removed her mask and grinned. "Tell them we're doing fine. Tell them the water's beautiful." And tell them we're going back down as soon as we analyze these samples. Over the next 3 days, the Triton's call crew conducted dozens of dives. They explored in shifts, each team discovering new wonders. They found fields of organisms that absorbed light and converted it to chemical energy more efficiently than any solar panel. They discovered thermal vents that could provide unlimited geothermal power. They catalogued over 200 species of complex life in just the small area around their landing site. But the most significant discovery came from Dr. Osei during a deep dive to 200 meters. He was exploring a canyon system when he noticed that some of the formations were too regular to be natural. He followed a wall deeper into the canyon and found himself looking at a structure that could only be described as a building. It was ancient, covered in sediment and growth, but unmistakably artificial. Doorways, windows, and what might have been writing in a language no one had ever seen. Kwame's heart raced. He was looking at proof that intelligent life had existed here, maybe still existed somewhere in these vast oceans. He was about to return to the ship with the news when something moved in the shadows of the ancient building. Kwame froze, his scientific training warring with his instinct to flee. The shape emerged slowly, revealing a form like nothing in the galaxy's databases. The creature was roughly humanoid in size, but utterly alien in design. Its body was streamlined, covered in skin that shimmered with colors. 8 limbs, 4 on each side, extended from a central torso. Its head was elongated, featuring large eyes that clearly saw in the dim, deep water. Most remarkably, the creature didn't wear any breathing equipment. It lived in the water naturally. The being and the human regarded each other for a long moment. Then Kwame did something that would define humanity's relationship with water worlds forever. He raised one hand in a gesture of peace. The creature tilted its head, studying the strange visitor. Then it raised one of its own limbs, in what might have been a response. Colors rippled across its skin, in patterns that seemed almost like language. Kwame felt something strange in his mind, not words but impressions, images, emotions. The creature was asking a question. It wanted to know what Kwame was, where he came from, why he was here in the deep places. Kwame tried to project his own thoughts, focusing on images of Earth, of humans, of ships traveling between stars. To his amazement, the creature seemed to understand. More colors flashed across its skin. More impressions filled his mind. The being called itself one of the abyssal singers. Its people had lived in these oceans for thousands of generations, building cities in the deep trenches, watching the stars from underwater observation posts. They had seen other ships come and go over the centuries, strange vessels that fled as soon as they detected the water. The abyssal singers had assumed they were alone in the universe, the only intelligence that could thrive in the ocean depths, until now. Until the humans came, diving deep without fear, swimming through the water as if they belonged there. The abyssal singers had been watching, waiting, trying to understand these impossible visitors. Kwame's rebreather alarm beeped. He was running low on air. He projected a sense of needing to return to the surface, promising to come back. The abyssal singer seemed to understand. It gestured toward the canyon exit, guiding Kwame back to navigable territory. Just before he ascended, the creature touched his arm gently. The contact sent a final impression into his mind. Welcome. The word transcended language. The humans were welcome here. The abyssal singers wanted to meet them. When Kwame surfaced and told his story, the Triton's call erupted in excitement. They had come to explore a water world. They had found an entire underwater civilization. Captain Yuki immediately transmitted a full report to the alien observation fleet and the Galactic Council. The message was simple but revolutionary. Nereus 7 is not uninhabited. Intelligent aquatic life exists here. They are peaceful, advanced, and eager for contact. The Council was wrong about water worlds. We request immediate diplomatic protocols for first contact with the abyssal singers. On the Crystal Harmony, Ambassador Valen watched the report 3 times, her crystalline structure flickering with disbelief. An entire civilization, she whispered, living in the water. All this time we classified these worlds as dead, and they were full of life we never saw. The implications spread through the observation fleet like wildfire. If Nereus 7 had aquatic intelligence, how many other water worlds harbored civilizations? How much of the galaxy had they missed because of their fear? Back on the Triton's call, preparations began for formal first contact. The crew knew they were making history. Humanity had come to the stars as the newest species, the least experienced. But in the depths of an alien ocean, they had found something no other species could have discovered. The abyssal singers emerged from the deep waters that evening, dozens of them, creating a display of colors that lit up the ocean like auroras. Through their telepathic impressions, they shared their story with the humans. They told of waiting for millennia, for someone who could join them in the water, someone who understood that the universe wasn't just the space between stars, but the space between molecules, the realm of fluid and pressure and life. As the first night on Nereus 7 fell, Yuki stood on the deck of her ship, looking at the luminous shapes moving through the water below. Above, the alien observation fleet watched from their safe distance, and between them, humanity had become the bridge, the only species that could connect the fear of the dry worlds with the depth of the oceans. The dive had changed everything. The galaxy would never look at water the same way again. The Age of Blue expansion 6 months after first contact, the settlement called Pacifica floated on the equatorial waters of Nereus 7 like a city from a dream. Humanity had built upward and downward simultaneously, creating a hybrid metropolis that existed both above and below the waves. Surface platforms housed living quarters, research facilities, and docking bays for spacecraft. Beneath the water, transparent tunnels connected underwater laboratories, where scientists worked alongside abyssal singers, in chambers flooded with their native element. Station Administrator Michael Torres stood in his office, which featured a floor made entirely of transparent aluminum. Below him, 50 meters down, he could see abyssal singer citizens moving through the water gardens they had cultivated. Human children in dive suits played with young singers, learning telepathic communication through games. It was a sight that 6 months ago would have been impossible to imagine. Administrator, the council delegation will be arriving within the hour, his assistant informed him through the communication panel. Ambassador Chen Wei is requesting a final review of the presentation. Michael nodded, pulling up the holographic data that would change galactic society forever. The information represented 6 months of joint exploration by human and abyssal singer teams, surveys of not just Nereus 7, but 22 other water worlds the singers had known about for centuries. Every single world had yielded discoveries. Some had life, some had resources, 2 had other aquatic civilizations that had been hiding just like the abyssal singers. The galaxy had been blind to half its potential worlds. On Station Harmony, the Galactic Council assembled in emergency session. This time the chamber was packed. Every species had sent their highest-ranking officials. They had all seen the preliminary reports. They all understood that humanity's success on Nereus 7 represented either a threat or an opportunity, depending on perspective. Council leader Zephyron called the session to order. Honored delegates, we gather today to hear a comprehensive report on waterworld exploration. Ambassador Chen Wei of Earth will present findings from the Nereus 7 colony and the broader Aquatic Survey Initiative. Chen stood before the assembly, older and more confident than he had been 6 months ago. Beside him stood an abyssal singer named Depth Speaker, the first of their kind to visit a space station. The singer floated in a specially designed water-filled mobility sphere that allowed them to move through air-based environments. The sight alone had caused chaos when they arrived. Honored Council, Chen began, I will be direct. For 6,000 years, galactic civilization has operated under a fundamental misunderstanding. We believed water worlds were uninhabitable. We were wrong. The holographic display activated, showing a map of explored space. Blue markers appeared across dozens of star systems. These are the water worlds we have surveyed. Of the 33 we have visited, 31 contain significant biological activity. Of those 31, 7 harbor intelligent civilizations, similar to the abyssal singers. The chamber erupted in shocked conversation. 7 civilizations that had been living undetected, while the council explored the stars. But it gets more significant, Chen continued. The resources we have discovered on these worlds represent economic value beyond calculation. Energy crystals that form naturally in deep ocean trenches. Biological compounds that could revolutionize medicine. thermal vents that could power entire star systems with clean, renewable energy. All of it untouched, because no one could reach it. Depth Speaker's voice entered every delegate's mind, translated through telepathic broadcasters the abyssal singers had developed for this meeting. My people have known of the Sky Dwellers for many generations. We watched your ships come and flee. We wondered if we would always be alone, unable to join the community of stars because we could not breathe your air. The humans changed that. They swim as we swim. They dive as we dive. They are the bridge we needed. Ambassador Valen of the Voth stood, her crystalline structure pulsing with agitated light. This is all very impressive, but it changes nothing for species like mine. Water still destroys us. These worlds might as well be on the other side of the universe for all the good they do the Voth Collective. That's where you're wrong, said Dr. Aria Santos, stepping forward. She had spent the last 6 months developing something revolutionary. We can teach you. The hologram changed, showing training facilities on Pacifica. Humans have been teaching other species to overcome their water fears. We've had volunteers from 12 different civilizations go through our aquatic adaptation program. The results have been remarkable. The display showed a Korvax scientist named Breath Seeker, one of the methane-breathing insectoids who had once feared water above all else. The footage showed them in a specially designed suit that protected their respiratory system while allowing them to move through water. Breath Seeker was swimming, awkwardly but definitely swimming, through the shallow training pools of Pacifica. This is impossible, Ambassador Threk of the Korvax said, rising from their seat. I know Breath Seeker. They have always been terrified of water. Fear can be overcome with proper training and equipment, Arya explained. We've developed water suits for 17 different body types. We've created breathing systems that work with methane, ammonia, nitrogen, even plasma-based life forms. The technology isn't perfect yet, but it works. More footage played. A young Voth scientist named Clearthought, learning to navigate water while wearing a crystalline coating that prevented moisture damage. A Terric engineer exploring a shallow reef in a suit that kept their silicon-based body dry while allowing them to observe underwater life. Even a Luxan energy being contained in a special field that let them exist near water without dissipating. Some species are learning faster than others, Arya continued. The Korvax have proven particularly adaptable. Breath Seeker has completed over 50 dives and has become an effective underwater researcher. The Voth students are progressing more slowly, but they are progressing. Even species we thought could never approach water are finding ways. The implications settled over the Council like a heavy weight. If other species could learn to explore water worlds even with assistance, then the economic and scientific opportunities were available to everyone, not just humanity. There is something else, Chen said, his voice taking on a more serious tone. The abyssal singers have shared something with us, something that will change our understanding of galactic history. Depth Speaker's telepathic voice filled the chamber again. My people have maintained archives for 30,000 years. We remember when the first Sky Dweller ships came to our world. We remember because we already knew of the stars. Our ancestors were explorers too. The hologram showed ancient star maps, rendered in a style completely different from anything the Council had seen. These charts are 15,000 years old, Depth Speaker continued. They show routes between water worlds, connections made by our distant ancestors who built ships that traveled through space while filled with water. An aquatic civilization that explored the stars long before any current Council species achieved spaceflight. Impossible, Zephron breathed. There is no record of such a civilization. There would not be, Depth Speaker said. My ancestors explored water worlds only. They built no colonies on dry planets. They left no markers in space that air breathers would recognize. But they existed, and they created a network that spans the galaxy. These maps show the locations of water worlds throughout explored space and beyond. Many of them have never been surveyed by the Council. The star maps expanded, showing hundreds of blue markers scattered across the galaxy. Some were in known space. Many were in regions the Council had never explored, areas dismissed as lacking habitable worlds because initial scans showed high water content. We propose a joint initiative, Chen said. The Aquatic Alliance. Humanity will provide bridge capabilities. The abyssal singers and other aquatic species will provide knowledge and navigation. And any Council species that wishes to participate can join in the exploration and exploitation of water-world resources. The benefits would be shared among all participants. The debate that followed lasted 3 days. Conservative delegates argued that water-world focus would drain resources from traditional colonization efforts. Progressive voices countered that the potential returns justified any investment. Economic councils calculated the value of the discovered resources and determined that water-world extraction could double the galactic economy within a decade. In the end, the vote was overwhelming. 43 species in favor, 2 opposed, 2 abstaining. The Aquatic Alliance was officially recognized as a council-sanctioned organization. Humanity was appointed as lead coordinators, with Depth Speaker representing the aquatic civilizations. The immediate effects were dramatic. Shipyards began constructing vessels designed for water-world operation. Training facilities opened on a dozen different worlds, with human instructors teaching alien species to overcome millennia of ingrained fear. Research grants flowed to projects developing better suits, better breathing systems, better ways to bridge the gap between dry and wet. Within a year, the first non-human colonies were established on water worlds. A Korvax research station on Oceania Prime, studying the jellyfish-like tide weavers who lived in the planet's cloud layers. A Voth mining operation on Aquarius Station, extracting energy crystals from underwater formations using remote-controlled drones operated by suited Voth engineers who could now tolerate proximity to water. The most successful integration came from an unexpected source. The crystalline Voth developed a new coating that could withstand water exposure for limited periods. Young Voth scientists, inspired by human courage, began volunteering for underwater training. They would never swim like humans or breathe underwater like the abyssal singers, but they could enter the water for hours at a time. For a species that had considered water instant death, it was revolutionary. On Pacifica, the city continued to grow. The human population had reached 5,000, but they were now outnumbered by abyssal singers and visiting aliens. The settlement had become a true cosmopolitan hub, the first place in the galaxy where dry world and wet world species could meet as equals. Michael Torres walked through the underwater market district, a feat that would have been impossible before human engineering created reliable pressure seals. Human merchants sold earth goods to abyssal singer customers. Korvax researchers bartered for specimens from the deep trenches. Voth artists created sculptures from underwater crystals, working in protective suits that let them function in the environment they had once feared. Administrator Torres, a voice called. Michael turned to see Breathseeker approaching, their modified suit allowing comfortable movement through the station's mixed air-water corridors. I wanted to thank you personally. Before humans came, I never imagined I could do this. They gestured around the underwater market. I never imagined my people could explore places we only saw in nightmares. You gave us courage, Michael smiled. We just showed you it was possible. You found the courage yourselves. As the sun set on Pacifica that evening, a research team returned from a deep exploration of an uncharted trench. They carried with them artifacts that appeared ancient beyond measure, structures that suggested the abyssal singers' historical records were accurate. There had been a galactic aquatic civilization, one that predated the current council by thousands of years. Dr. Aria Santos examined the artifacts in her laboratory, her mind racing with possibilities. If the ancient aquatic explorers had truly mapped the galaxy, if their records were intact, then entire regions of space might be accessible that had never been surveyed by dry world species. We're not exploring new territory, she said to her research team. We're rediscovering old routes. The aquatic civilizations have been waiting in the depths all along, waiting for someone brave enough or stupid enough to dive down and meet them. In orbit above Nereus 7, Chen Wei met with Depth Speaker, inside the human vessel that now served as diplomatic headquarters. Through the transparent walls, they could see both the blue planet below and the alien observation ships that had become permanent orbital companions. The council vote changes everything, Chen said. But I'm concerned about the pace. We're discovering new civilizations faster than we can properly integrate them. 3 more aquatic species made contact with our teams this week alone. Depth Speaker's colors shifted to thoughtful patterns. My people have a saying, the deep reveals itself slowly to those who rush. Perhaps we should establish protocols, First contact requires patience, understanding. Not every aquatic civilization will welcome surface dwellers, even ones who can swim. Chen nodded. Agreed. I'm recommending to the Council that we create a formal aquatic diplomatic corps. Trained humans and abyssal singers working together, following strict guidelines. We can't just dive into every ocean we find and expect peaceful outcomes. Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent communication from Dr. Kwame Ose, who was leading an expedition to a water world in the deep frontier sector, an unexplored region far from Council space. Ambassador Chen, you need to see this. Kwame's voice came through with barely contained excitement. We found something. Something big. The holographic display activated, showing the expedition team's location. They were orbiting a water world larger than any they had previously surveyed, a planet that seemed to glow with a faint blue luminescence even from space. The entire planet is emitting a low-level energy signature, Kwame explained. It's artificial. Something down there is powered, and it has been for a very long time. We're detecting structures, massive structures, spread across multiple ocean basins. This isn't a natural world with some ruins. This is a constructed environment. Chen felt his pulse quicken. Have you made contact with any inhabitants? That's the strange part. We're detecting no life signs. The oceans are empty. No fish, no plankton, nothing. But the structures are active. They're maintaining themselves somehow. Within hours, Chen and Depth Speaker joined the expedition, traveling through faster-than-light space aboard the newest human research vessel. When they emerged near the mysterious planet, now designated Deep Frontier 1, they understood why Kwame had been so stunned. The planet wasn't just glowing. It was covered in a network of luminescent lines that ran along the ocean floor like circuit pathways. From orbit, the entire world looked like a massive piece of living technology. Requesting permission to lead the first dive team, Captain Yuki Tanaka said. She had insisted on joining this expedition, bringing the Triton's call and her experienced crew. Permission granted, Chen replied. Standard protocols. Report every 15 minutes. Any sign of danger, you abort immediately. Yuki assembled a team of 5 humans and 3 abyssal singers. They took a submersible down through the planet's atmosphere and splashed into waters that felt electrically charged. The sensation wasn't dangerous, just noticeable, like swimming through water that was somehow alive with energy. As they dove deeper, the structures became visible. They were enormous, spanning kilometers, built from materials that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. Architecture that defied conventional physics, designed for an environment of complete water immersion. At 200 meters depth, they found the entrance, a massive archway that led into what could only be described as an underwater city, perfectly preserved, completely empty. The team entered cautiously, their lights illuminating chambers and corridors that showed no signs of decay despite obvious age. These buildings are at least 10,000 years old, Marcus reported, scanning the walls. But the power systems are still functioning. Whatever civilization built this, they had technology far beyond current galactic standards. They explored deeper into the complex, following the glowing pathways that seemed to lead toward the planet's core. In a central chamber, they found what appeared to be a control center. Holographic displays activated as they approached, responding to their presence. The holograms showed star maps, not just of this region, but of the entire galaxy. Blue markers indicated water worlds, thousands of them, connected by lines that suggested travel routes or communication networks. At the center of the map was this planet, Deep Frontier 1, appearing to serve as some kind of hub or nexus point. This was a capital, Depth Speaker said, their telepathic voice filled with awe, the heart of the ancient aquatic civilization. The legends my people preserved were true. There was a galactic empire beneath the waves, and this was its center. As they studied the control systems, one of the abyssal singers named Current Keeper discovered something remarkable. They touched one of the holographic interfaces, and suddenly information flooded into their mind. The system was telepathic, designed for aquatic intelligence, and it was trying to communicate. The city is not empty, Current Keeper reported, their colors flashing rapidly. It is waiting. This is an archive, a repository of knowledge. The civilization that built it knew they were ending. They preserved everything here for whoever would come after. Over the next weeks, the team worked to access the archive's contents. The information was vast, covering everything from advanced physics to biological sciences to historical records spanning 50,000 years. The ancient aquatic empire had been real, spread across hundreds of water worlds, connected by technologies the current galaxy couldn't replicate. But the records also revealed why they had disappeared. The ancient aquatic civilization had encountered a problem that even their advanced technology couldn't solve. Their water worlds were dying. Something was causing planetary oceans to acidify and evaporate. World after world became uninhabitable. The Empire tried to fight it, tried to terraform, tried to relocate populations. Nothing worked. In the end, they had made a choice. Rather than let their knowledge die with them, they had built archives like Deep Frontier 1 across the galaxy. They had encoded their entire civilization into protected repositories, hoping that someday someone would find them and learn from their achievements and their mistakes. The final message in the archive was addressed to whoever discovered it. It was a warning and a gift. The warning explained that the ocean death had been caused by the Empire's own success. They had exploited their water world so efficiently, extracted so many resources, that they had disrupted the delicate chemical balances that maintained the oceans. By the time they realized the damage, it was too late to reverse. The gift was their technology, their knowledge, everything they had learned about living in water, building in water, thriving in aquatic environments. But the archive's creators had added a condition. The knowledge would only unlock fully if the discoverers proved they understood the warning. They had to show they wouldn't repeat the same mistakes. Dr. Arya Santos studied the archive's requirements carefully. They want proof that we're exploring water worlds sustainably, that we're not just extracting resources, but maintaining ecosystem balance. They want to see that we've learned from their failure. Chen immediately contacted the Galactic Council. We need to establish environmental protection protocols immediately. The Aquatic Alliance needs oversight, regulations, limits on extraction and colonization. If we don't, we'll destroy these oceans just like the ancients did. The proposal met resistance from economic interests who saw water worlds as unlimited resources, but the threat of losing access to the archive's advanced technology swayed the debate. The Council passed the Aquatic Preservation Act, establishing strict guidelines for water world development. Pacifica became the model. Human and abyssal Singer engineers redesigned the city's systems to minimize environmental impact. They created closed-loop resource systems, artificial reef restoration programs, water quality monitoring networks. Every extraction operation was balanced with conservation efforts. It took 6 months, but eventually the team on Deep Frontier 1 presented their conservation achievements to the archive's systems. The ancient AI analyzed human and council efforts, reviewing data from dozens of water worlds. The judgment process took 3 days. Finally, the archive responded. The knowledge began to unlock. Faster-than-light drive designs that were more efficient than anything currently used. Medical technologies based on aquatic biology that could extend lifespans across multiple species. Energy generation systems that produced zero waste. Communication methods that worked across both water and space. Most remarkably, the archive contained complete star charts showing the locations of every water world the ancient empire had discovered. Thousands of worlds, many in regions the current galaxy had never explored. This changes everything, Zephyron said when he received the full report. With this knowledge, galactic civilization will advance by centuries in just decades. But Chen was focused on something else. He studied the historical records, the story of how a great civilization had failed because of its own success. He thought about humanity's history on Earth, how close they had come to destroying their own oceans through pollution and overfishing. We need to do this differently, he told the council. The ancient aquatic empire failed because they expanded without wisdom. They thought the oceans were infinite. We know better. We have to build a civilization that can last, not just one that can grow. The council agreed to create the Office of Aquatic Sustainability, headquartered on Pacifica, with joint leadership from humans and aquatic species. Every waterworld development project would require environmental impact assessments. Every colony would need demonstrated sustainability before expansion. It slowed the pace of exploration, frustrated some economic interests, but it worked. The water worlds remained healthy. The aquatic civilizations continued to thrive. The ancient archive systems, satisfied that the new generation had learned the crucial lesson, fully opened their knowledge vaults. If you're ready to see humanity rise from the depths and take down the aliens, hit that like button. Comment below. How do you think humanity will use water to defeat the invaders? Make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter of this thrilling HFY saga. Humanity's fight for survival is just getting started. Comment for next part.